Fright Night Vault. Audio horror for nighttime listening.
Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. Tonight, we wander far from safety. Imagine a land so vast, so empty, that sound itself feels swallowed. A wilderness where the horizon burns red at dusk, and when the sun sinks, there is nothing but black sky stretching forever. Out there, in the wastelands of scrub and stone, silence is not peace. It is a warning. For the young, it begins as a dream. They arrive with backpacks, maps folded in trembling hands, chasing stories of freedom whispered by travelers before them. They want to lose themselves in a place untouched, to sleep beneath constellations, to laugh around fires under skies untouched by city light. The air tastes different out here. Dry, metallic, filled with a sharpness that makes them feel alive. But dreams can rot. Miles separate one town from the next. Gas stations with cracked windows and rusted signs stand abandoned in the dust. The roads thin into ribbons of asphalt, stretching so far into the void that drivers begin to feel the desert is pulling them in. And when the car rattles, when the tank drains faster than expected, when the sun dips behind jagged cliffs, the realization sets in. Out here, help is not minutes away. It may never come at all. The heat scorches in the day, baking the sand into glass. At night, the cold slices through skin and bone, making every sound sharper. The wind carries whispers across the barren fields, dry brush snapping like bones, shadows moving too slow to belong to the living. The stars themselves feel like eyes watching, merciless, silent, endless. And always, there is the sense of being followed. Not by a phantom, not by a spirit, but by something flesh and blood. A smile waiting beyond the reach of the firelight. A truck idling somewhere in the dark. Footsteps you can't hear until they're too close. This is where it begins, the perfect hunting ground. The trouble began small, as it always does. A flat tire, a fuel gauge sinking too quickly, a spark sputtering in the engine before dying altogether. 3 young wanderers stood beside their crippled car, dust curling in the heat, no signal on their phones, no headlights but their own. And then, help arrived. A truck growling out of the dark, its beams blinding, its size monstrous against the emptiness. The driver seemed friendly at first, a man seasoned by the land, his voice rough with dust, his smile sharp but wide. He offered a ride, a tow, a safe place until morning. Gratitude dulled their caution. They climbed into his world, a camp cut deep into the wilderness, scattered with tools, tarps, the stink of oil and rusted metal. The fire burned hot, and their nerves eased under his stories of the land. But behind his laughter lurked something hollow, a silence that did not fit his grin. The desert night grew colder. Sleep pulled at their eyes. He watched them settle in, and then the mask began to slip. The first scream shattered the silence. They awoke, bound, gagged, or dragged into the dirt. His voice was no longer friendly, but cruel, gloating, savoring their terror. He had hunted before. This was no accident of kindness. It was ritual. One by one, he broke them. The tools of the land became weapons of horror. Knives dulled on bone, ropes tightened around wrists until skin split, bullets echoing against canyon walls. He mocked them as they begged, forcing them into the wilderness like prey. The Outback became his killing ground. He knew every ridge, every dry creek, every place where screams could vanish into the wind. Their desperation only fueled his delight. To him, they were not people. They were sport. Some tried to flee, running barefoot over the stones, lungs tearing with each gasp. Others fought back, clawing, striking, spitting in his face. None of it mattered. He was patient. The land was on his side. The horror was not only in their deaths, but in his laughter, the joy he found in dragging life from their eyes. He was not a monster of myth, not a demon or ghost. He was human. That made it worse. The search began days later. Families, authorities, strangers who cared, all combed the barren land where the horizon swallows the unprepared. They found little at first, scraps of clothing, a rusted button, a torn backpack half buried in the dust. And then the earth gave up its secrets. Bodies, mutilated and discarded, lay hidden beneath shallow graves, their bones gnawed by time and silence. Others were left to rot beneath the open sky, claimed by heat and scavengers. Some remains were never discovered at all, as though the desert itself conspired with him, swallowing evidence into its endless mouth. The survivors' families begged for answers, but the law struggled. Witnesses spoke of a man with a wide grin, a bushman hardened by the land, someone who knew how to make the wilderness his weapon. He stalked with patience, striking with precision, always choosing those who would not be missed quickly. Tourists, wanderers, dreamers chasing freedom on the open road. In the courts, the horror unfolded in sterile light. Testimonies painted pictures of cruelty too detailed to ignore. He had bound them, broken them, mocked their prayers, dragged them into the woods like prey. Their agony was his feast. Investigators tied his crimes not to one night, but to years of hunting. His life was a masquerade of normalcy by day, but beneath it beat the heart of a predator who never tired of blood. And still, questions linger. How many lives did he really claim? How many crosses in forgotten forests mark victims the world will never name? Some believe the true number is far greater than the convictions. Some fear his methods inspired others. The story you just heard is no invention. You can look it up. It was born from the backpacker murders of Ivan Milat in the 1990s and echoed in the 2001 killing of Peter Falconio by Bradley John Murdoch. These real horrors were woven into the film known as Wolf Creek, where fiction sharpened the edges of fact, but the blood was already real. So remember, Vault listeners, evil does not always hide in shadows or whisper in forgotten churches. Sometimes it waits on the roadside, smiling, offering help when you are most desperate. Sometimes the monster wears a human face, and the road itself becomes your grave. Subscribe to the Vault and never walk alone again. We upload daily, and one night, the headlights in your rearview mirror may belong to him.